From project reviews to incredible interviews, along with the general things in Web3, CraigO's Crypto Corner covers the space in a fun and engaging way. We dive in so our listeners can conceptualize, plan, strategize, and implement their very next move. We are quickly becoming a platform that enriches and supports the overall foundation of Web3. In order to grow, you need your voice to be heard. If you have infinite curiosity, then CraigO's Crypto Corner is just for you. Come join us. You're tuning into CraigO's Crypto Corner, the best in Web3, blockchain, NFT, and cryptocurrency technology. Great reviews, incredible interviews with the leading people in the Web3 ethos, and just the general things Web3. Let's first get to it and welcome my co-host, Mr. MetaMat Trades in the metaverse. What's up?
How are you doing? Good to see you.
It's going to be a great episode. I'm really excited. I'm a big user of the FLOOR app, so it is going to be a lot of fun, a lot of engaging questions, and we're going to try to get as much alpha as we possibly can from Chris Mattern. I mean, that's what he's here for. Let's get to that point.
It is an impressive resume from what I saw.
What excites you about tonight's episode, my friend?
Honestly, just from what I've done, the research on Chris Mattern himself, I know the FLOOR, of course, his project is really popular, really big. But I'm just curious to see what he's all about, and just, how his journey was, with Venmo and founding all these different companies. I'm just curious to see what that's all about.
Me too. And I first want to get to it. And it's a little bit of a switch from last week because we got some really big news. But I want to bring in Ralph Quintero with the AI Web3 update and understand about the next chapter in his journey in the beautiful metaverse. And the future, by the way, is looking very bright. What's up, Ralph?
What is up, Craig? What's up, Matt? Nice to see you guys, as always.
It was time to say goodbye with a little emoji face on the Daily Ralpha. And I got to tell you, it hit me the next morning like it hit you.
Yep.
Talk to us a little bit about the journey of 550 every morning, 550 days of great content coming everyone's way through news, ETH updates, latest mints. Why this pivot, Ralph?
Talking about the journey, it was amazing. It will continue to be amazing. Like I said in my last email, it's bye for now. I'll be back very soon, and it's going to be bigger and better. I've learned a lot across that journey. 550 episodes, amazing relationships, amazing people. I know Chris Mattern was there from the very beginning, in the same way that I was there from the very beginning of FLOOR. We've kind of seen this journey together, and I'm excited about what's coming up. Of course, I will be sharing that here first. As you so graciously invite me into your house every week to share updates. I will continue to have updates. I continue to be very bullish and extremely passionate about Web3, blockchain, metaverse technology, but I'm also looking ahead at the rest of the emerging tech space and what's coming, and that's actually a lot more aligned with what I do IRL. So just exciting things to come.
Well, I'm excited, and I'm so happy to have you here this evening. And as things progress, you're going to keep us in tune. And listen, just because it's not the Daily Alpha does not mean you don't bring the alpha, because you always do, my good friend. You hear me?
Thank you, brother. And I will continue to feed alpha as I find it. Like I said in my PS, I'm still as much of a degen as I was before, probably even more now, because I get to dive in a little bit. When we were backstage before coming on, Chris was saying that, this is like past his bedtime. This would be like when I would start to sit down to work like 3 hours worth of Daily Alpha before waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, doing another hour.
Right.
I'm still getting used to that. I got to tell you, it's a little weird, but it's nice. And my wife's appreciating sleeping in a little bit more every morning.
Happy wife, happy life.
Exactly.
There's those. I totally get it. I do want to bring MetaMat real quick before we do our intro for Chris Mattern. We have two contests, and we really want to monitor this tonight. One is that Chris Mattern is being so generous. He's going to be giving away 2 icon NFTs. Not sure which one of the 10 collections, but that will go out to someone at any Web3 community, doesn't matter. And then to show a lot of love and respect to the Futureverse community, we're going to be giving away a code, which will be in the DM that everybody can go into DM CraigO's Crypto Corner. And our admin will be working on that to send those code out to all Futureverse holders. So that way people have free access to the app, those that are Futureverse holders. So Matt, I want you to monitor the chats tonight, make sure that we're engaging. We're not only growing our following, but we're bringing in great information, and we're also listening to our community as we build in a thoughtful manner.
Sounds good. Love a good giveaway.
All right. Me too, my friend. So, and those will be pinned to the top. So let's go to it. All right. FLOOR app is my go-to app for monitoring my NFT portfolio in real time. Its intuitive user interface and accurate data make it the preferred choice for thousands of NFT collectors and traders to track all collections on the fly. Multiple wallets can be managed in app, and notifications provide a peace of mind with little to no effort. In our conversation with the founder, Chris Maddern, a British technologist and entrepreneur, we'll explore all the features and benefits of the FLOOR app. We'll also delve into Chris's insights on what actual utility means. Chris's impressive background includes leading mobile at Venmo and co-founding Button, and mobile commerce marketing platform driving billions in sales for Uber, Hotels.com, Walmart, and more. From the outset, Chris built FLOOR with real-time feedback from the community, allowing for quick adjustments along the way. We'll also uncover the fundraising round for FLOOR and the significance of the G1 through Gen 3 tokens in the ecosystem. So let's plot, plan, strategize, and implement our next moves in Web3. GM, Chris, how are you?
GM, that's quite an intro. Thank you for having me. Really glad to be here.
It's an honor to be here. I mean, I'm on this app quite a bit, and I love it because on the fly, I have all my wallets connected. I can see everything that's going on. You also provide some news in there, some updates, and you've really been a big supporter of some incredible artists. So I want to just start off with what brought you to the place where you saw a need in the market for an NFT app tracker or tracker app?
Yeah, I think the need that I saw that led here is really just making Web3 feel simpler. And portfolio tracking is one small piece of that. But my own personal journey, as you mentioned, I'm a technologist by background and have spent a little bit of time in crypto before this as well. And when all of my friends and people that I respected were thinking about Web3, thinking about NFTs, I eventually followed them and decided to go and do a little bit of research and figure out, maybe what was going on over there. And what I found was that it was really, really hard. I found that for me, someone who was a little bit more knowledgeable than average about the industry coming in, who has a background in computer science, I could barely figure it out. And what eventually happened is, as I got deeper and deeper into the space and had a few aha moments where I figured this thing could be really useful and powerful, started leaving some breadcrumbs behind me to try and make it incrementally easier for the next people to come in. And eventually that kind of snowballed into, some people wanting to join along the way and build something together to make it much more than incrementally easier, like a lot easier for people to come in. And I've been converted as a real believer that I think that there will be a more participatory, a more equitable future for the internet, and where tokens and culture meet will power that. And so I think it's incredibly important that we move away from the current era of crypto, where we're building protocols and tools, towards one where we're building products that can actually support millions, hundreds of millions of people and allow them to be successful. And that we allow people who represent what looks like the population of the world to be successful in this new space. And so, yeah, a little bit of a long, lofty answer.
Yeah.
But I think portfolio tracking is one small piece, which is helping you understand the NFTs you have today, of helping you understand this new world. And hopefully, we evolve as that world evolves too.
And I love how easy the UI experience is. The user interface is absolutely incredible. It's very easy to pop on. And I think for a while, I had learned about your app through our JPEG Morgan family, which you see it behind me.
I haven't actually ever seen that much JPEG Morgan merch in one place. That's awesome.
We're gonna bring in more. I love our JPEG family. I mean, shout out to Futureverse. We had on Aaron and Shara last week, and we had such a great conversation. And I think it's important, and especially in this space as a family, to grow together, to support each other's communities. But so I don't completely derail, from the time that you started working on the FLOOR app to its time of launch, was it a 6-month period? Was it a year? What did that look like for you as you were figuring it out on the go, since you are a technologist?
Yeah, FLOOR was built very incrementally. And so we began with this kind of original idea, which was there is a core problem, which I think was best represented at the time by dozens of OpenSea tabs, where, if you own 10 things, you probably have 10 OpenSea tabs. Problem is that doesn't scale when you own 100 things. Like, what do you have? Like 100 OpenSea tabs? And there was this core problem that felt very ripe for solving, which is just people were buying them for a whole host of reasons, but many people were buying them for reasons of speculation. And so you have to start with a real problem that a user has. And the problem of kind of getting a quick gut check of all that stuff together was the one that we wanted to start with. And so I basically spent maybe a day putting something together, originally kind of hacked together on top of the OpenSea API and a tiny bit of blockchain indexing, and took a picture of it and tweeted it out and said, hey, like, I'm building something. Would anyone be interested in this as a product? And thousands of people replied, liked it, DM'd me. It's like, man, this is like a real problem for me. This is something that I'd really like to use. And decided early to lean into that and foster that as a community of folks that could help inform the product, could get access to it early. And really, what's funny is when I started building this thing that's become a tool and a platform in Web3, I actually don't think I'd yet had my aha moment that convinced me why Web3 was going to be powerful. It was actually as we were building FLOOR and realized that a group of people coming together in a world where you support these kind of tokenized communities can have incredible impact by choosing to support projects, both financially, with time, with advice, with information, and come together and make something happen really quickly that couldn't happen otherwise. And so I think it was the first day or 2 days when we started having people say like, hey, I'm really interested in following this. I'm really interested in being an early user for this. I think it was maybe a week later, we had the first people using the app. And that was when we launched the first set of NFTs, which was really a filtering mechanism to figure out who was serious, because we had thousands of people who wanted to use this thing and probably couldn't go from 0 users to 1,000 users or 5,000 users in one day. We needed to figure out kind of who are the 50 who like really want to do this. And that was the original motivation for the Genesis NFTs.
And I thought that was great. And Tony, I want to do a quick screen share. I want to actually show people in real time with the FLOOR app. So as I was preparing for the show, I was how can I get a little creative? And so I saw FLOOR, it makes it easy to track your digital assets in one place. This is, again, some of my collection. Yes, I did get another Deeds Expanded. You did see that, right, Ralph? And I just love how the ease of use, keep your eye out for collections that you want to know more about with the watch feature on FLOOR. I thought that was another really great thing. And tonight, of course, we're going to talk about the discovery, right, of the icons collection on the FLOOR app, and that has been phenomenal. I have all 3 of them. I can't wait to get all 10. I'm just really excited and pumped, and the community has been very much interacting with that. And as you have that like tab in there, and the settings, I think, is really a really good thing. That if you have any collections that I believe are on ETH, Polygon, Solana, is there anything else that I'm forgetting? Are those the 3 primaries right now?
Those are the 3 today. If you ask me again in 2 weeks, we might have a few more for you. Little alpha.
And so I love the settings tab, right? I claimed my own handle. Tell me a little bit about claiming the handle, how that's going to be relevant and important down the road, and why you did that for those that have the FLOOR app. It's not just a token connect, but now you have a handle that I've claimed. Why is that?
Yeah, and if anyone ever tries to tell you that Craig does not do his prep for his shows, this is amazing. You can have my job. You can go out and search FLOOR.
Thank you.
So I think Web3 is inherently social. And it's social because it brings people together around things, whether that's shared interests, shared values. And for us, we started by solving a single player problem, which is, investing at some level is kind of a single player thing. Your bags, your NFTs, your decisions, and like you need to get some data. And we've been on this mission, which is, okay, yes, we want to keep serving people in this really core use case, but we also want to make it better to be in NFTs together, to be in Web3 together. And that means starting to bridge the gap between your lonely little corner with your NFTs, and today, unfortunately, with your bag going in the wrong direction. But different times, and start to open that up to what are other people doing. Who else is in my community, and what are they doing transactionally, but then also potentially what are they doing non-transactionally.
Right.
And so we have a lot planned here. This has been a long lead project for us. So I think we try and constantly be delivering constantly, like every week or two we'll try and ship something that we'd call meaningful. But there's two things that we're working on right now that are very long lead. One of them is we announced 3 or 4 months ago maybe that FLOOR is going to be a wallet. And so in late 2023 through to early 2024, FLOOR will be a fully transactional crypto wallet, which we're really excited about. We have a bit of a different take on being a wallet. We want to make that a lot simpler than it is today.
Okay.
And the other is, as you think about that wallet and you think about your portfolio and activity and everything that's happening across Web3, layering social deeply across all of that in a way that makes it both native to social, but also native to tokens and native to Web3. And so we want to make a really native space to be together around the things that we're doing in Web3.
Yeah, there was a lot of thought in the layout, right? I was thinking, how many people hold a smartphone and they have all these apps, but they don't understand all the work that took to actually open an app and make it user friendly. And I think that is probably the thing that once I started to delve in and play around with it, I was able to understand, wow, this is not complicated. And the fact that the handle is my Twitter handle, that I've claimed that under the app, means that you now are having a direct way to connect and know the audience on crypto Twitter, because Twitter's not going anywhere. I'm a fan of Twitter. Maybe not all the noise and all the stuff that goes on in the X that we talked about maybe 3 weeks ago, Ralph. But I want to go to the, simple is right, the tap on a particular collection within your FLOOR app, and instantly you'll be able to view a number of total items in that collection, the assets, its performance. You'll be able to connect right into a marketplace, whether it's Blur or OpenSea. So again, I'd rather spend my time in there rather than going in my wallet, going, is my digital asset there? My FLOOR app tells me everything I need to know in real time, and you also deliver some great news on the back end. And so we're gonna just cover a little bit more. But as you guys can see, I did purchase some Futureverse digital assets. Really excited for ASMM, what they're doing. If I get that word out correctly. So let's talk about the icons collection, the artists, the curating. We're always here for the art. So let's delve into these 3 artists. Let's start with 1, 2, 3, and then let's maybe talk about what's coming down the road.
Yeah. Icons has been so much fun. So very much like I didn't fully understand the power of Web3 until I was already building Web3. I didn't start my Web3 career in art. Like, I'm not a guy who's ever had hand-selected pieces of art on my wall. I don't come from a background of deeply appreciating that, but I've started to learn that as I've gotten into Web3. And fortunately, my co-founder Christine, very much does come from a world of kind of caring about, deeply thinking about, and having experience with art. And so as we started thinking about what it means to create on FLOOR, and in the long term, we really hope that just as Web3 kind of philosophically blends the idea of creating, participating, and makes that less of a one-to-many and more of a kind of many-to-many. Thank you, Graf. We wanted to start to build some of the tech, some of the pillars, and some of the proof points around, can we make it so easy to buy an NFT that it's just as easy as buying digital gold in an app? And with that, can we try and start a movement on the other side where we go and find people who today sell works for significant amounts of money in the crypto ecosystem and convince them that this world is better if we can invite more people into it and we can create a bigger pool and create more awareness? Can we convince them to bring their work in additions to FLOOR users and allow them to buy it at pretty approachable price points inside of the app with one tap, with the payment mechanism that they use to buy anything else that they buy on their phone? And so it's been a pretty large amount of work over the last 10 to 12 weeks, getting the right artists involved, building the tech, creating an experience that we think people actually wanted to use, and truly have never really been prouder of a team pulling all of the pieces together, whether that's the concept, the program, the artists, the tech, the experience, the go-to-market. It's been really, really amazing to watch. And we've just had amazing people be willing to be involved in all the way from our very first, going out of the gate, with a $30 instant purchase, digital customization of the app by Vinny Hager, along with an NFT. It kind of blew my mind. And it, for me, has really kickstarted. Like, I am absolutely in love with the piece from Rick Crane that we dropped today. I think, and I'm biased, I guess, I think it's some of the best work he's done, and you can buy it in the app. I'm so excited about it. It is literally my phone.
And let's talk about the
background.
user experience, right? So since I've done this and mine as well, by the way, I'll pull that up in a second. But I think the experience to go on, purchase it, right? And it's Google Pay. It was so simple on my Android. I'm an Android guy, by the way. I just want to throw that out there. I have an iPhone for work. I'll stick to my Android. And
you're an Android guy. Okay, you're really an Android guy.
I am. And so what was interesting is I'd purchase it. I could then set the banner, the background drop, and then the token, when it would say it was in pending status, it maybe took maybe a couple hours, and then it would drop right into my wallet. I was able to just store it right into my ledger. There was no gas fees. It wasn't this and this is what I love about this opportunity market, is that you're able to collect 10 really well-known artists, some maybe more than others, depending on, as they're building their community and their artistic expression. And people are really fascinated by the story because all three of them, like last week's artist, why don't you talk to me a little bit about her? I was just so fascinated with her use of colors and shapes, and then how she's building a brand off of that. And it could be fabrics and pillows. I really like what she's doing. Tell me a little bit about that artist number 2, by the way.
Yeah, Amber Vittoria. So funnily enough, Christine, from way before FLOOR, was actually a collector of her works physically. So she was an artist. I think she mostly works first in physical form and then kind of digitizes it. And then that way she's now doing some digital first. And so she would tweet about things or Instagram about things that she was making. And Christine was a collector and has on her wall like physical pieces from before NFTs ever existed. And it's really interesting to see the difference between folks who've literally come to exist because of NFTs versus, people who have been at this for 15 years in like various different formats and now like, oh, wow, this world exists that will appreciate my work in this new way. And I have a new buyer base and like there's liquidity over here in a way that there wasn't before. And so, yeah, I think Amber does a very large variety of things and has an enormous archive of work. Before we did a fireside chat with her. So one of the things that we're experimenting with is, can we create small exclusive audiences with these artists directly for folks who collect their work? It's kind of a pilot of what would it look like to deeply embed social with what it looks like to purchase things. And one of the questions that was asked to her was, what's a big crazy goal you have? And one of her styles of work is she takes postcards and she takes kind of her signature color stripes and she draws that color stripe on them as kind of like a patch through it, but like almost like it's a pillar in the landscape of the picture. And her goal is to like eventually create one of these like physical giant statue monuments in it. So like very large range of kind of things that she wants to create. Let's actually run through a lot of our artists. And they do things from kind of like small patchworks to installations.
And I love how you sent out an email, because obviously we, the early collectors, and the email was so personalized, and it was like, hey, we're going to be doing this chat. It's going to be to Zoom. We'll get everybody together. And I really appreciated that. It's actually dropping my kid off at that particular time. And I'll try my best when I can make those. But I think it's really cool that you not only have a piece from an artist that has solidified and built themselves in the real world, but now you get the chance to really connect with them. And that's why I always will revert back to, it's an opportunity market, not a bear market, is that this is the chance for you to really set your foundation and build your house on it. And I do want to talk a little bit about utility in a second, but I want to mention to a tweet, and it just came to my mind on this one. You talked about the complexities of, all right, so you go into Coinbase. You then set up your bank account to Coinbase. You then convert your fiat into ETH. You then send your ETH to your MetaMask wallet. Make sure you send it to the right one. You don't want to send the right one, it's gone. And I love how you broke down this whole story. And sort of at the end, my conclusion from your tweet was, FLOOR is all about making the process of buying digital art easy, about tracking your assets simplified, by the back user interface experience magnificently perfect. And that's seems to me at every turn why I go to your FLOOR app. The other thing that you had mentioned was that how many times, and you guys had tested how many times people were going into the FLOOR app, and I on a given day, and I'd say I'm probably in there maybe 3 or 4 times a day. I'm now starting to read into the news or other things that you're putting in there outside of just looking at my digital collections, seeing what it is. And you really are conscientious. Can you talk to me about some of the content that you put into your FLOOR app?
Man, at this pace, it's going to feel like I don't do anything here because once again, Christine is actually the champion here. So,
by the way,
yeah, no joke. So, FLOOR has this core use case, and as you said, users come back on average many times a day and do that kind of core, what we call genius moron check, which is like the quick check-in in your portfolio, see what's going on, and we know that in order to help you discover and deepen and not just serve, folks who are already experienced in the space and have a lot of assets, we have to help orient you. For new people, that means kind of orient generally to what is Web3, what's going on here. For folks who are already here, even at the bottom of the bear, there is quite a lot going on day to day and certainly week to week. And so help curate what we think of as, some pillars of, here are meaningful, interesting things that are happening in the space. We're a platform. We try very, very hard to take a, probably ever so slightly like Web3 positive. Like we do tend to be, pro Web3 and not like anti Web3, but in general, very agnostic to kind of individual projects and more just kind of industry commentators, and help people, if you are just looking for something to do, to browse around Web3, give you something to do. But particularly if you're looking for information on individual collections and to understand the context of why what's happening, you can also see all of that on a collection basis. So, every day news gets posted in the app, but then at any point, if you go to a collection, you can kind of see the last 6 months of news that may have affected that collection. So you can kind of, if you're thinking about, what community or collection you might want to join next, you can see, oh, here's the chronology. Like, here's what happened, ranging from, Discord posts that get elevated through to news that's been curated, and tweets even that kind of we've selected and said, hey, this seems like kind of important and prominent to the arc of this collection.
So let's I guess delve in a little bit. And I was just I'm just looking at all right. So the FLOOR tokens, Gen 1, you picked this curated group of about, say, 50 people who's really passionate about it. Then you launched off Gen 2 and then the Gen 3 token, which I got. Tell me a little bit about those tokens, how they went in concession, and what surprised you about launching your own digital asset that's directly connected to the FLOOR app.
Well, the first surprise was anyone bought them. I think that it's all kind of been a grand experiment. And at the time, it solved a problem, but it turned out to actually be a very different thing than I think I thought I was creating at the time. So I thought I was solving the problem. How do I figure out which 50 people should test this? And never actually really saw it as a sustainable thing. I didn't think, hey, this is a really incredible way to build a new type of community around this idea and make it not an app, but a movement for the people who are involved. And so when the first 50 went in like 3 hours, I was like, oh, wow, shit. Like, people must really want to test this thing. And, then set up a Discord. And that was, I don't think I'd ever been in a Discord before, let alone run a Discord. But I had to figure out how to run a Discord, which has definitely influenced some of our interest in creating social that's closer to tokens. I think we can all say Discord is not probably the greatest social experience we've ever had. But it really was an incredible little corner of the internet for the beginning of FLOOR, because, it was first 50 and then 500. And, I think at our peak, we had several thousand active folks in the Discord who were just really interested in making the best version of this thing for all of us.
Right.
And, so we're showing up really positively with ideas, requests, like honestly, very patient with bug feedback, because, for the first 6 months, 4, 5, 6 months, like this was a part-time hobby. This was, something that I was working on evenings and weekends, hadn't yet realized the platform that we could build and the impact that, I think we're going to go on to have for the industry. And so, yeah, things will be broken sometimes for a little while. And, they very patiently wait for us to kind of fix those things. And so it became much, much more than a group of testers. And yes, it actually was how we funded a lot of the original development, a lot of the original kind of like servers and that stuff. But it was also far more than that. Like, I don't think the project would exist if it weren't for the people who were there with me at 2 a.m. talking and like, hey, like, I love this thing. Like, let's figure out how we can make it do that thing. Can I jump in and help? And it was really special. It was a really special time personally, but I think it was also a special time in Web3 where there was this very constructive, excited kind of atmosphere.
And by the way, the Gen 1 tokens did exceptionally well, if I'm correct. And I think your concern wasn't, you didn't want the when Lambo mentality coming in and just purchasing based on pure speculation. You wanted them to use and utilize the app and the benefits of the technology in which you were putting before them, right?
Yeah, we actually had lots of restrictions. So Gen 1, we did see some of that. So when I released Gen 1, originally I sold it at 0.05 ETH. And what we actually saw was lots of people trying to gather up lots of them. So gradually increase the price until the point where we stopped seeing speculation and then occasionally tried dropping it until you started seeing speculation again. So we're very much trying to find a price point that, the market like didn't find insane, but that prevented that kind of like, I'm going to buy 20 and like try and sit on them and speculate on these things.
Right.
It was a open seafront contract. So we actually had very little contract control in terms of who could and couldn't mint. When we later went on to build our own contracts, then we actually put contractual limits in for, you can't have more than 3 in a wallet or something like that. I forget the actual numbers. So we tried to build protections generally from people doing that. But yeah, it's very much like we want people to hold this token who actually want to be a member in this community. And, ultimately, like, I think as a means of early software licensing is really interesting. You can buy a piece of software, but get your money back when you're done using it and sell it to someone. Like, that is an interesting concept. It doesn't seem to be one that's kind of prevailing in the industry right now.
Right.
But I think just generally not that many things are what I would call actively thriving in the industry right now. So we'll see how it pans out.
The FLOOR app tracks many of the collections that are available again on ETH, Polygon, Solana. So here's the question for you. You see collections, you look at performance, you're a technical guy. What communities, not When Lambo, this is not financial advice, what communities have you most excited for the future? And it doesn't, it's not a, someone listens and goes, oh, well, Chris said it, but you track this. So what are your thoughts on the communities that really excite you?
Yeah, I'm excited when I see interesting new things happening that people are excited about. And so I think in ETH, it's been a little dry for a while. Like, I think Opepen has owned an enormous amount of the attention. I think something that we're seeing kind of pan chain right now is the prevailing narrative for NFTs has been scarcity. It's been less is more. It's been these things are valuable because they're scarce. There's not very many of them. They'll only ever be 500. They'll only ever be 10K. And I actually think what Opepen did that's really interesting, but I now see this like across all chains, particularly as you move to lower cost, lower friction chains like Solana and Base, is normalizing the idea of creation and creating lots of things as a side effect of what's happening. And yes, each of those things probably isn't going to be worth $50,000, but let's be honest, like, it really shouldn't have been anyway. And there will be a small number of things that do continue to demand those prices as, artifacts of a time potentially past. But, there is great art that lost the ages. It's not most pieces of pottery that were made, though. And so there'll be a subset of those things that do go on and prevail. I think we're going to enter a time of, not 10K collections and maybe not quite as art focused, but, tens of millions of items on lower cost, lower friction chains that provide some connection or utility to people inside of them. So you can see stuff like that happening on Solana a lot with things like Drip and, some of the new tensor compressed NFT stuff. You see it on Base, like lots of free open mints. I imagine that like Sui and Aptos are going to go a similar way. Polygon's a little bit behind here, but I actually expect
Yeah.
to start seeing that happen a lot on Polygon. So I think we're going to enter like the age of massive NFT creation. And people are going to have to figure out like, well, what does that mean for NFTs as an asset class versus NFTs as a membership and credentialing versus like NFTs as utility.
And by the way, Ralph, let me bring you back in really quick, and then we'll come over to MetaMat. You know, you use the Floor app like I do. What are your what to you is your favorite part of Floor?
Man, the journey, honestly, I'm part of that group one early when Chris came on to the group and mentioned what he was working on. We all got super excited. At one point, it was my most used app on my iPhone. You know how you can track how much time you apps, and it's always been, since I installed it, it's always been in the top 3. It is my go-to app. It's an app that I recommend to everybody. I've shared, I don't know how many invitations people into Floor through the daily raffle myself. It helps me onboard people into the space. It's helping me much more now with everything that they're doing with icons. There's just so many things that I'm excited about. But the most exciting thing is, one, the team listens. Most of the team has come about from being part of the community, which is something that I applaud Chris and Christine and the entire management team at Floor, is that they lean in heavily into the community. Like, one of my favorite stories that I often tell is, and you mentioned it earlier, Craig, you're an Android user, and I will like thumbs you down all the time because I'm an iPhone Max.
I know, it was iPhone at first.
I know. But what was really interesting is, as the community was growing and so many exciting things were going on with the iOS version, the community started saying, man, like, when are we going to get Android? And I saw like a group of guys get together and be like, you know what, whatever, like, we'll step in, we'll help you do it. How can we make this happen? And Chris was open enough in building in public to see that happening and embracing it and bringing it in. And I mean, Chris, how long was it before the Android app was out? It was like, it happened like from the outside, it looked like it happened pretty quickly as soon as the community got involved. So that to me is one of the most powerful things that Floor brings. The other thing is really seeing how it's scaled, right? At the time, before Floor really came onto the scene, I had been using WGMI, and now that's part of the Floor family. So it's just really nice to see Floor continue to expand and grow. And then when Six Men, came in and led the funding round, and just seeing everywhere it's going and seeing the potential of what it still has to go just makes me so proud and excited about this team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to give a shout out to everybody that's in our YouTube channel. We've got about 12 people in there right now. That's fantastic. Probably got some people in Twitter Spaces. MetaMat, any updates from your end or any questions? Oh,
I think we lost MetaMat.
Difficulties.
Well, we love him. I mean, he's on the road, so we can appreciate that. I have to say that it's really cool to watch an app that is dependable, that you can not only count on, but you can get that information. You can then understand, you make it simple. So I want to talk a little bit about the slide from going into your wallet, or into your Floor app, looking into a particular collection, and then the functionality to be able to either click on OpenSea or Blur. Are you planning on opening or expanding other marketplaces as well in the future, possibly?
Yeah, for sure. And actually, before I answer that, thank you so much both for the kind words and support, not just here, but over the last 18 months. You've both been awesome. JPEG Morgan's been awesome. And Ralph, I was sad to see the Ralpha go, but your personal dedication to keeping the drumbeat of positivity going in Web3 over the last year has been bravo.
Thank you.
We will be excitedly watching for what you do next.
Thank you.
So funny you just mentioned WGMI. So Tom, the founder of WGMI, joined the team, and I think two of my favorite things that I've ever done. One was convincing Christine to leave Robinhood when we were talking about Floor and Robinhood and come and join me as co-founder. But honestly, one of the other kind of biggest difference makers has been convincing Tom to come and join Floor. and have WGMI as part of the Floor story and Floor as part of the WGMI story. And he has just turned out to be this incredible powerhouse in the team. And all of the stuff you're talking about there, like, integrating marketplaces, trade prices, which we just launched very recently, and some of the upcoming chains that I teased, that's all kind of like his domain, and he owns and runs a lot of that. And so, yeah, today we support, I want to say like 4 or 5 marketplaces across the various chains. So, as we roll out new chains, new marketplaces are kind of culturally relevant. So when we rolled out Solana, it was really important that we supported Magic Eden, and then Tensor kind of played. Tensor is to Magic Eden what Blur is to OpenSea in the Solana ecosystem. So we, moved in and made sure that we added Tensor support. We're going to be rolling out a couple new chains that have a couple new marketplaces that are culturally relevant. So we're always adding new marketplaces. Like the truth is there are lots of little marketplaces, and we are currently thinking about what is our mission here. Is our mission to help users be able to understand the price, like do price discovery effectively and trade most assets? Or is it to like make sure that absolutely every single corner of liquidity is covered? And we're a small team, and we have big goals across huge swaths of what you consider the Web3 interface layer. And so we're trying to make sure we don't go and kind of oversolve problems that don't really help users very much. So I imagine what we'll do is kind of add marketplaces to keep that 90% of liquidity is covered kind of line. There are smaller marketplaces, more niche marketplaces that today we don't support, but as people come into that 5 to 10% of liquidity line, I imagine we'll kind of look at adding support for them.
And the brilliance for the Floor app, first off, I love the branding. Let's just start there. And I love the color scheme, this color fonts or scheme. But I also think more importantly is that I think the brilliance in the Floor app is that it's simple and it's not intimidating. And that there's also, let's talk about the Web 2 onboarding ramp, getting people into Web 3, right? So for anybody that has the Floor app, now they're going to be people that have access to it, that are going to be able to purchase. Hopefully they have a hot wallet. As you said, the future plans for later this year is that you're going to have a launch the Floor app is going to have its own in wallet. I want to know a little bit about that in discovery, because when I think of wallets, I think of 2 things: seed phrase and private keys. So how is that going to work now? And how are we going to protect users' future funds in the Floor app?
Yeah, so I think there's a bunch of things that are all happening at once. So I think when you think about what you're trying to protect a lot of the time in Web3, it's that seed phrase driven wallet that holds your $100,000 Bored Ape. And like, yeah, that's a really big, scary thing. So I think first and foremost, 90% of people, 90% of the time are going to have things in their wallet that are not massively financially valuable. So it's like it's a different stake situation. Ironically, often there's a bigger chance of losing access to your wallet than your wallet actually being compromised.
Right.
And then the other side of that equation is there's a lot of really interesting technology that's advancing. So when you look at things like account abstraction and the adoption of contract wallets, when you look at the maturity of passkeys as an authentication technology, when you start merging these things together, you can create really secure, really powerful systems where a user doesn't even need to see a password, let alone a seed phrase. And you can guarantee both continued access, recovery, and security. And then on the flip side of that, at the core of designing any product is opinionation. It's if you build a product that can do anything and let users do anything, you haven't built a product, you've built a tool. And users will be able to be as successful and unsuccessful with it in equal measure. And when you build a product, you have an opinion on what users should do and how they should do it, and what things they like safely should be able to do easily. And so most of the wallets that exist today exist largely without opinionation. When you look at MetaMask, you can sign any transaction. It shows you a JSON blob. Like they're almost indiscriminate. The one that rugs you and the one that like sends 1 penny of ETH basically look the same to you and like can be done with equal friction. And so, sorry, you had a question.
No, I love this because you just said something that was so brilliant, and I think Ralph would even agree. tool versus product. So when I think of tool, it's open-ended. You haven't really delved down or niched into specific things, so I can start to make some mistakes. Whereas with product, you're really defining in on specific direction, and you're saying to the end user, this is how you're going to use it. This is its intended purpose. Is that what I'm to understand from that?
Yeah, like fundamentally, there are so few products in crypto today.
I love
We
it.
built protocols, and then we built tools, which are concrete implementations of that protocol with a UI.
Yeah.
And really, that's it. That's where we stopped.
That's
And
brilliant. I love it.
in large part, it's because in order to build a product, the user has to have a problem they're actually trying to solve that you're helping them to solve. And a lot of crypto has just been crypto for crypto's sake. And so like a lot of the time, it is just like the ability to go sign some random transaction. And what you find is products get built around where you have product market fit. So, you know, Coinbase and Robinhood were probably two of the first like real products that we interacted with in crypto. And they were designed around product market fit for the use case of a centralized exchange for spot trading. Centralized exchange for cryptocurrency speculation was the first fit that crypto found with a consumer base. And so we found real products built up around it. I think the next 12, 18 months is going to be the time where we start to see that fit around some Web3 use cases. And so you'll see products evolve up around that. And then those products, in trying to solve this problem for the user, will have these things like softer, easier onboarding ramps, better safety features, and with more opinionation about what users can and should do. You know, more bumper rails around what they shouldn't do and what's unsafe, and helping them be more successful even in those scenarios.
Speaking of safe and unsafe, right? We've got PayPal and Venmo, right? Because they're interconnected. They have just recently launched their stable coin. I'd love to, as you being a past employee of Venmo, I'd love your opinion just to weigh in on the stable coin. And is it a good thing for the space? Is it a net zero? What is it?
Yeah, it's great. Like, I think PayPal is not historically one of the most agile, fast-moving, and kind of risk-taking, at least kind of not later PayPal. And so I think them entering means a few things. One, PayPal would not launch a stablecoin if they did not believe that regulatorily they had extreme cover. Like, they believe launching a stablecoin is an extremely safe thing to do in the US markets. Like, they are a massive profit-making financial entity. It just wouldn't be responsible for them to do it if they thought there was any meaningful risk to issuing this thing. So that's awesome. Like, that's really bullish for the industry. And I think Paxos, more than almost any company out there, has proven itself a good, practical, diligent actor in the space that can actually safely bring these types of products to large financial institutions like a PayPal. I think. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was my mic that picked up. I was going to say, during your time at Venmo, what did you do there? And tell me a little bit about the impact.
Yeah. And so it was early. I think like any early stage company, you do a lot of things, but primarily I was originally hired to build the iOS app, but got to touch a lot more things than that. I think when we joined, I actually forget the actual numbers, but we were in like the low tens of thousands of users. And there's that kind of magical time inside of a company's history where you find that kind of kernel of fit, and all of a sudden, you find yourself not growing 10% month over month, but like 50%, 70%, 100% month over month for like some sustained periods. And I remember on the day that I joined Venmo, pretty much everyone I met didn't know what it was and thought I was trying to scam them by saying, hey, go sign up for Venmo. It's kind of like being in crypto now. And then by the end, when I left, people would like literally be like, are you trying to mansplain to me what Venmo is? I'm like, oh, sorry. I just forgot that people know what it is now. It took such a while to get here.
Yeah.
But no, it was really an incredible journey. Built a lot of things, like a big chunk of the apps. And yeah, I was always really passionate about a few things. One, onboarding and virality. So I think things like the global public feed that we did, which was a massive source of social proof, and getting people over that hump of, hey, like, is this safe? Well, there are all these people doing it, and they seem to be doing it for like the kind of things that I would be doing it for. are really interesting. And I think fundamentally, so we did a lot of user research and a lot of user discussions at Venmo. And one of the things that always really staggered me is the average person who used Venmo to pay another person, so the person sending money, not receiving,
Right.
when asked to describe the experience in one word, said delight. Which, when you think about what paying your friend back is normally like, delight isn't probably the first word that I'd normally use. I'm like, damn it, I gotta pay my buddy back.
Yeah.
And I think there's this like really special thing when two things can happen. One, you can make something simpler than people perceive it to be. And this is very much a guiding principle for us at Floor. And I know Christine had similar experiences at Robinhood, where I think when things are a certain amount of hard, people in their head index as that thing's hard. And if you can surprise and delight them and make it easier and simpler than they just believe that thing to intrinsically be, that's magic. Like, there's a certain level of technology that's indistinguishable from magic. And honestly, in the US financial system, making a payment easy is basically indistinguishable from magic. Like, that's how hard it was to pay someone back in 2011. And we're really trying to bring that same magic, put it in people's pocket for like, oh, wow, I had no idea I could buy something on the blockchain and do it with one tap in 30 seconds. Like, that's the feeling we want to give people.
The reason I ask you this is because I want people, if they're listening in right now and post episode, they will. But the alpha is you. And by that, I mean your experience in developing the iOS app for Venmo. And then at the end, people saying, are you trying to mansplain to me? It's like, well, at first you thought I was conning you. Now you're like, oh, I already know it. Why are you trying to tell me? The fact that you're the person behind building the Floor app and you're going to do the wallet integration and you're launching an artist collection of 10 top artists, that to me is the ultimate, because you have something that performs at such a high level, and you've done it on and on a world stage with Venmo. And as you said, right, it was so hard at one point in 2011 to get back and forth payments in this regard. Now it's instantaneous. And here you are developing something in Web3 that people should appreciate. And maybe I'm going to go away from using the Web3 thing to just saying emergent technology and the new iteration of the internet. It's a little bit longer, but I think it makes a whole lot more sense. Now, I want to do a couple things.
Is there an acronym in there?
I don't know. I'm
We'll
gonna
come up with one.
I'm a creative. I wake up with good ideas in the morning, and as I was preparing for you with the slides, I was like, how do we show people in real time so that way they'll understand just how easy it is, the user interface, the back settings, and everything. So we had 2 giveaways that we're doing today. So one is in the DM, and I don't want you to say it. So you gave me a word. That word is the code, and I'll go into the Discord and connect with our Futureverse community. Anybody that wasn't here, anybody who is in this chat right now, and I see a few of you, I will make sure you get that code. We have a couple DMs that came through. So it is that word. They just enter in that code. Is that correct?
Yeah. So when you come on in, it will say enter your invite code. Just pop that word in there. We'll leave it open. We'll leave that code active till tomorrow. So if anyone wants to,
and I'll be on that. I'll be on that tonight. So they just go in, they enter the code, they download the app, whether it's Android or it's Apple, and that's simple. And then they enter the code, and they now have access, the same access that we have to the Floor app with all its great features to be able to track all your NFT collections in one spot. Now, I do want to finish off just on a few things. You were going to give away 2 icons tonight, and I want to value those. And I'm looking in our Twitter Spaces and our YouTube, and again, tonight's a little bit of a light audience. Maybe it's a little bit later. We try to adjust the times. I mean, last week it was just insane. So it's kind of nice to really get to connect with you. And maybe the madness it's okay if it's not as mad tonight. I'm good with that. I love this space, and I always love just getting on and just having conversations with new friends, and my friend Ralph over there. The 2 icons, and I'm looking at anybody in the chat in the Twitter Spaces. We got about 9 people in there. Dante I5, Carrie, Jonesy. I see that he's got a beautiful Vinny Hagar behind him, and then
Jonesy.
Yeah, Gency. Okay. And then Desor, Darith, I saw your DM. So obviously you want to give away 2 icons. I think it's great when it's a small audience because it's intimate. And then they go and brag and say, hey, you missed out, but I didn't. So Jonesy just gave the heart and the 100. Who do you want to give the 2 icons to, my friend? I'm going to put that one on you.
Oh, you cannot put that on me. I defer.
Fine.
Entirely.
So if we have a Vinny Hagar guy and he's already collecting in there, I think Jonesy, I think it's gonna make it hard.
I would recommend you put it into a name selector, man.
A name select.
Yeah, I don't think you want the heat for this.
Fine, I don't want the heat.
Yeah.
Jonesy, I don't want the heat, and I got a thumbs up from the community. Thank you guys. I love it. I'm getting the laughy faces. Renee, can you do me a favor? Can you just put the names out of the people that are in here right now and let me just do a draw in real time? Just, if you can create just a little fishbowl for me. So in the next 5 minutes, we're going to do a giveaway for anybody that's here in this space right now. I see all your names. Our admin. Renee, I don't even call you my admin. That just sounds so weird. I feel weird. I'm not that kind of guy. If you can just thank you. She's a friend of mine. She's in the Downtime TV studio along with Tony. Yeah.
So Matt had to drop because he was having connection problems, and Matt usually does lightning round, and I'm happy to take on some lightning round questions.
Please. I just want to
say if Chris is up for it.
Chris, I just want to say he is
always.
Up. Chris, I just want to say it was a real honor to have you on tonight, and what a pleasure and what a gentleman you are.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me. I cannot wait to be a continued viewer. I actually can't believe I wasn't a viewer ahead of this. I watched a little bit ahead of time just to make sure I get caught up. And this is an awesome show, man.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, lightning round. Best NFT purchase ever.
Oh, so one that makes me the happiest. Actually, my icons, of course. But the one that made me the happiest before icons, because everything has to be pre-icons. I think it's probably my squiggle. And then the one that was the best financial decision was I minted 75 creeps, which financially, historically was a very, very good decision.
That was one of my biggest wins, by the way. Thanks to
for a lot of people, that was a giant W. And what's really cool about that team is they've actually gone on to really focus and build. And that was, if there's the opposite of a rug, it is Joe and Dom over at the Creeps team, just keeping on going. I still talk to them most days.
That's awesome. All right. Most embarrassing purchase.
Ooh, I've definitely FOMO'd into a lot of things at the top. And, one of the biggest challenges with, being publicly visible inside of a community is people start following you. And so I think probably my most embarrassing purchases have been where I've FOMO'd into something, haven't even necessarily said anything, but then a bunch of other people have FOMO'd into it too. And then it tanks. And then people are like, oh, I thought Chris was buying it. And I was like, oh, whoa, you're watching my wallet and buying my stuff. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
I am buying dumb stuff all the time. Do not follow me. I have no alpha. I'm trying to think of a good, the Ozzy Osbourne bats, I think was one that happened on.
I did good on that though.
One.
I saw the writing on the wall on that one, Chris. I got it, and then it immediately went up to 1.5 ETH or just under 2 ETH.
That was one I bought, and
I was like, I'm out. You were my exit liquidity on that.
Good, yeah, literally 100%. Certainly, you or someone like you, I was your exit liquidity, and then unfortunately, a bunch of people followed me.
I feel you on that, man. In the whole time that I was doing the Daily Ralph, I had a lot of people just copying my trades, and it got to the point where I had an alternate wallet where I was doing some of the more questionable stuff that I would be on the fence about just because of that. Cause I just wanted to make sure that people understood that it's not always roses. It's not always, big profits. There's definitely a downside risk. So what's your proudest moment so far? I mean, you've done it's been phenomenal. And I'm sure it's not going to be that easy to choose, but if you had to, what's been your proudest moment so far?
Yeah, there's a lot. I think a few that stand out. Christine joining from Robinhood, and the former CEO of Robinhood Crypto, and my friend being co-founder his, massive one. Actually, similarly, for the 1-year anniversary of the tweet that started it all, the team signed a printed copy of it and framed it and gave it to me as a gift. That was like a really lovely, like, just look at everything that we've done, kind of like summary moment in time. I think, like any team, I think what I'm proudest of is, we started right at the height of the last bull market. And, the first 9 months of the company were like essentially riding down the tail of the last one. And then the last year, essentially, we've been operating 18 months, been operating in, winter. And that's hard. And I think I've been most proud that not only have we grown 10x during that time, but the grit and dedication that the team has showed and the focus on building something that matters for the other side and the new world that's going to exist afterwards, while bringing the folks who are here today with us. It's been amazing. We haven't had a single person who's like, I can't do this anymore, I'm out. Like, all of our bags are down, but like, you don't hear anyone talking about that at FLOOR. It's optimistic. It's about, how do we build the stuff that we're going to need for welcoming, millions more people here. That makes me really proud.
Cool, man. So talking about the future and talking about those millions of people. So let's imagine we're 5 years down the road. You're sitting on the Today Show, or you're sitting with Joe Rogan, and they're talking about how Chris Maddern and Christine and the entire team has revolutionized Web3 and onboarded a gazillion people. What are they going to be saying about FLOOR 5 years from now?
Oh man, a bunch of things. I hope they say. I hope they say it leveled the playing field a little bit. It made it easier for tons of different types of people to come here and to create and to truly participate. I think that one of the things that we're going to see happen is lots of communities that today aren't tokenized to tokenize in new and interesting ways. I hope that for a ton of people, it's their bridging experience from what I think will be lots of Web 2 kind of siloed experiences that are semi-tokenized into a whole new world of like different types of things. I hope there are people who found friends through FLOOR. I hope there are people who found opportunities here. I hope we make people feel like this new version of the internet and this new economic structure is for them. Like, I think that's more than anything.
That's amazing, man. Listen, congratulations on all the success. I'm so proud of you and so proud of the team and what you guys have done. And I can't wait to see where it goes. And I will be your biggest cheerleader along the way. So congrats.
Yep.
And me to you guys as well.
You got 2 cheerleaders here. And by the way, I did pick the winners. And I'm going to actually do the tweet for the 2 icons winners. And then I'm going to hop into the Discord for Futureverse. Anybody that didn't show up tonight is a little light, and we'll make sure that they start engaging and see if we can get them to interact with the FLOOR app even more so. So guys, stay tuned for everybody who did tune in. And we're going to end tonight's episode. And Chris, what an honor again to have you on. And Ralph, thank you for sticking with me through the entire episode and finishing up with those rapid fire questions.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much for watching CraigO's Crypto Corner, the best in Web3, blockchain, NFT, and cryptocurrency technologies. CraigO signing off.